You.
Hi, Heather. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to be with you.
Thank you so much for being here with me. It's really been an honor to have so many people on the show and hearing everyone's story. I know your story because you are one of our Champion for HD donors, or donation recipients, I should say.
Yes,
But you have an incredible story. So, why don't you tell everyone where HD started in your life?
sure. Um, Basically, I wanted to come on the show because right now I'm in stage four. Um, and I really, um, HD came into my life at a young age, with my grandmother and my dad. Um, we have, much like you, we have HD goes back very far, generations. Um, and I just wanted to let people know how it's impacted and changed my life, but also, give them hope as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's what we aim to do with the nonprofit and with the show, which is why I'm so glad that you're on because every time that we post an episode, someone will reach out to me, either a friend, a family member, or indirectly someone who I've never met who says, "Hey, so and so that you had on the show really struck a chord with me. I'm in the same place. I feel very alone." And this is a place where people don't have to feel alone and they don't have to feel ashamed of having this disease because I know that before there was a lot of talk about the science behind it and the mental health component, there was a lot of
Right.
shame in having the HD symptoms, which is so sad because it's nothing any of us can control. It's something that
Yeah.
we were dealt. So, from your story, HD starts very, very early in your family. I remember when you were telling me about it initially. Is there ever been a time where you didn't know Huntington's?
No. Basically, my grandmother is as far back as we know, on my dad's side. And we didn't really know what it was. We just knew of the chorea. And I, have chorea a little bit in my face. And I have some in my hands. I have, you know, for a woman, which is embarrassing, but I do have some bladder issues. You know, I do have to wear pull-up incontinence and stuff like that. They say, or my neurologist has told me that basically from a father to a daughter is more um, prevalent. The
Mhm.
the CAG repeats.
Yeah,
So mine is 44 right now. And it takes me a little longer to get my thoughts together. And I used to be a teacher, so
oh,
that's frustrating.
yeah. So yeah, that resonates with me because I am in the same situation. I got it from my father and he got it from his father, but I was told the same thing when I was diagnosed that if it comes from the father, it's much more prevalent, it's more aggressive. You typically see a higher repeat or expansion of the gene than you do from a mother to a daughter. And so I knew that that was a potential for me because my sister, who had juvenile Huntington's, had in the 80s as far as her CAG. But mine, my dad
Wow.
is a 40. Oh, I always get my dad and my grandpa mixed up. My dad is a 44 as well, I believe. My grandpa's a 42 and I'm a 49. So when I went and got tested, they told me you're either going to have a much higher number or you're not going to have it at all. Like there's no gray area because of the way that your genes have been showing themselves in your
Yeah.
bloodline. So, yeah, that it's gosh, it's so scary to go in and get that result, especially when I was reading your story. You went about what, 9 years in between when your dad got diagnosed and when you finally got diagnosed?
Yeah, I think, you know, you your story resonates a lot with me as well because when you're a caretaker, you're taking care of so many other people. And then you finally get the chance to take care of yourself. And I'm the oldest of 12
Mm.
grandchildren on my mom's side, which thank God, HG is not on that side.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
um, so for me, it was like, being the oldest, being a teacher, being a mom, I really needed to know. Um, I needed to know. And had the courage to, do that right away. My sister decided, much like yours, that she didn't want to be tested. And that's what I wanted, get out to the HD community, that it's really a personal decision. I went through the psychological test, counseling and testing, much like you did.
Mhm.
And I think it's so important, really. So,
Yeah, it's it's so tricky, and I say this time and time again, but it's true, and I'll continue to say it. It's a domino effect with HD because it's something that affects the family genetically more than just one person. So you're
yeah,
opening a can of worms if one person wants to get tested, but the other doesn't. And thankfully, I haven't really had too many issues with that in my family, but I have heard of stories where a mother doesn't want to get tested, but her daughter does. And then there's that just, elephant in the room and that
yeah,
confrontation of what do I do? Because if the daughter gets tested, is she not going to tell her mom? But if she tells her mom and she's positive, well, now the mom automatically gets her result. So I really try to put an emphasis, and I'm glad that you brought it up. Everyone has to take the testing process their own way. And for me and for you, it was just like a gut reaction. I want to be tested. I want to know what that future could or would look like for me. But no one else has to live with themselves but that person. So if
yeah,
someone knows that they cannot go into that testing room and get the test and live with it,
right.
then they should have their own right to choose not to get tested.
Absolutely. I fully agree with that. And I have, two girls, that one I won't name. One is a costume designer in New York City,
Yeah, that's so
Brooklyn.
cool.
And, it's, I'm blessed because I have Alyssa too, who's 15, and she's home, because of COVID. And she really is seeing, what I'm going through and understands it and really wants, to be an advocate. It's so cute. She anything related to HD, she's wants to be involved with, which I think is fabulous at such a young age. Um, so that's wonderful. And both of their families and both of their boyfriends are really supportive, which I think is amazing. Um, my older daughter, she, I don't want to cry, the makeup off.
You're allowed to
Um,
cry. It's okay.
the first time he brought him to my older daughter, the 23-year-old. The first time she brought him to the house, and they rarely drive in New York City, as you know.
Yeah.
So, anyways, they she brought him home, and he um he said, "Well, what is HD?" And she goes, "Well, I'll tell you what it is, and this is what it is, and this is what my mom has." And, I was so nervous, and the first thing he did is hugged me at the door, and so their boyfriends are in and out, and, they're completely like, if I have a walker that day, it's okay. If, if I have, my pull-ups on, it's okay. If I don't if I look like this, it's okay. It all depends on the day.
Mhm.
Um, and that's the thing. It all depends on the day. Everyone is different and every HD patient is different.
Mhm.
And that's why I love listening to your podcasts. And I just, I love listening to the music and the inspiration that you've given to me. So,
Oh my goodness, now you're gonna make me cry. Um, no, it's it's not ever easy. I would be lying if I say it is, and I try to be very open about the fact that everyone who has HD or is connected to it in some way struggles. Even if you don't see it, and a lot of the times we don't because all we see is social media, which tends to be a highlight reel of all the positivity. But thankfully, with these Huntington's disease support groups that we have online, they're private and people can open up and share things that maybe only other people who have HD in their family or in their immediate circle would understand. Because, after you get diagnosed or people find out that it's in your family, anyone who's supportive is obviously there to help you and support you, but they don't understand exactly what it looks like living with HD, what it looks like as the symptoms progress. I mean, especially with my sister, people were like, okay, she's sick, but what does that look like? You don't typically see a 11, 12, 13-year-old girl be that sick that fast. And so to have a community where other people get it, and even if they don't have a solution, because right now I pray every day, but right now we don't have a cure or a treatment, but we have each other. And I just think it's so important that we have that community to talk to one another, but also that we're respectful of one another because, like we said at
right.
the beginning, everyone's journey is
Absolutely.
so different. And I'm so happy to hear that your girls are so supportive because especially at 15. And I'm the same age as your oldest daughter, 23. It's still a lot to swallow at 23, but to
Mhm.
be 15 and trying to comprehend that, and also both of them trying to navigate life and their goals and their relationships, HD is always going to be a part of their life. And to have a partner who doesn't let that intimidate them, because I did have people in my life who are no longer in my life after I was diagnosed because they weren't the support that I needed. And my current relationship, we met a year after I was diagnosed. And that was something I had to bring up on one of the first few dates. And,
Yeah.
I almost feel like it brings you to the people you need to be with because you skip
Yes.
all the
Absolutely.
BS of, oh, I'll be here if something goes wrong. Well, now you really know that these people are going to be in your corner because there's nothing worse than getting HD in your family, but you're already overcoming it together. I mean, that's so beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I believe in God and, that's just me, but every day I do quotes, and that's my thing. I do quotes, and it started out for the girls, on social media and every day, and then it changed to friends, and then it changed to family, and doing those quotes, and then I found you guys, and I said, "Oh my gosh, there's people out there that have Huntington's disease that," and you just impressed me so much with all that you're doing, with the nonprofit and, at such a young age. And so I say to myself every day, um, and I apologize if I cry again.
No,
Um,
you don't have to apologize. I've cried on this podcast a couple times already.
um, but there's times where I've had OT or PT, or different things, nurses or whatever. And I'm like, listen, Shelby's podcast is on. I need to listen to it. Can you wait for a second? It's very important.
Oh
And
my
they
gosh.
laugh, they're like, yeah, no problem. Um, because with COVID, it's been, even harder, to be isolated even more.
Yeah.
So,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh. Yeah. Thank you so much. That means the world to me. I believe everyone has a purpose, and I always am open about the fact that I'm very spiritual and faith-based. Not everyone is, but I really feel like everyone has a purpose and a calling, and finding it sometimes comes in the trenches of the darkest places and the biggest battles. But I mean, we're doing it. You're doing it every single day. And especially like you said, in these times of COVID, I just give the whole world a round of applause for, mentally getting through this past year, because it's now March. It's as we're recording this, it's March 2nd. And my birthday is on the 16th. And my birthday was 3 days
Happy
into quarantine.
birthday.
Thank you. No, it's funny. I keep forgetting that. But the only reason I brought that up was because it's insane to me. It's been a whole year in quarantine, because my birthday was 3 days after my state went into lockdown. And I was like, oh, this is funny.
That's
This will be something to
hard.
talk about. Next year I'll go out. And now I'm looking at the calendar going, yeah, this is going to be my 24th birthday, my second birthday in quarantine. But it's hard. It's
Yeah.
so hard to try and navigate. And I'm so happy that you have your youngest daughter. She lives with you,
Yeah.
because my dad
And
lives
my
by
mom,
himself.
yeah, that's hard. It's hard, Um, and my mom's my caretaker right now. Um, it's a difficult age right now it's that in between age. I'm 46. You're not ill. I've been denied for disability a bunch of times because it's that in between age, like I said, where you're not Medicaid, you're not, younger, but every day I wake up and I just say to myself, look at there's so many people out there, that are suffering and that are, you know, I have it so much better than these people. And if I can just help in any way I can, I'm I think we talk about possessions and stuff like that, but I really think making memories right now is for us is so important.
Yeah, and those memories, I mean, everything that sounds cliche has purpose behind it, you know. Oh, well, memories are what you take with you, not the items, not the material things. And sure, in the moment when you want those things, because especially in this day and age of, I was just making a joke to myself before I got on here with you, because I have an Amazon subscription, so talking about instant gratification, I literally get Amazon packages like every day. It's really bad. So we live in this instant gratification world where we want everything. We want new clothes and new cars and new houses. And yes, it's not bad to have those things. I mean, I'm very blessed for the things that I've been able to have at my age. But I mean, when we lost my sister a year ago, and we were sitting there at her bedside, we did not talk about the things that we had bought her. We didn't talk about the type of house we all grew up in. We were just sitting around her trying to talk about every memory we had, whether it was a sad one, a happy one. I mean, it was so bizarre, because we would be crying because we thought we're going to lose her. I mean, she was not conscious even though she was still there. And we thought we lost her. She's breathing again. And then we go from crying to laughing and going, "Oh, remember that time that Brianna said this and then she ran and tried to hit you?" And so we're going from crying to laughing. But I mean, they tell you all the time, when you're at those last moments, those are the only things that matter. And after I lost my sister, I 100% agree with you. And I know you went through
Mm,
something really similar
yeah,
because you lost your dad to Huntington's.
yeah, and I'll never forget, and I guess, like, I'm so connected to music, and I'm sorry for your loss. That was such a beautiful tribute to your sister
Oh,
that
thank
you
you.
guys did, um, and I couldn't believe, like, you were, like, working from home that day. It was a year later, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, she's such a fighter," you know? But, again, I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank
I
you.
love you.
Oh, I love you too.
Um, so to get back on track, I did lose my dad, and, when it was weird, I was teaching and I got a phone call and, again, he was on hospice, and, I remember we had a phenomenal, team of people here taking care of him, and, I came in and I just laid on his chest and you know, I said, "Daddy, I love you." And one of the male nurses had a guitar and he started playing Amazing Grace. And I thought, that is so beautiful. So, of course, that just always resonated with me. And it's difficult. I sometimes have to talk about things like that with my mom, you know, like future plans and stuff. And um, it's hard. But, and, then I see one of your videos or your things, and I say to myself, no, you're still here. You have a purpose. You have a life, and you're able to get up every day. So there's a reason you're here.
Absolutely. Yeah, when I heard that part about him playing the guitar while you were at your dad's bedside, I just feel like those are moments where there's no such thing as a coincidence. It was almost like God had sent you an angel in the form of a nurse to sing to you and your
Yeah.
father in that really dark moment, and trying to process those thoughts. I think having I almost wish I had someone serenade us during that moment because there's so many emotions and trauma going on in that last couple moments, where to have someone give you a sense of peace, that's that's such a
Yeah.
gift. And you got to say
Yeah.
goodbye to your dad, which is something that I am grateful I got to do with my sister, because I feel so
Huge.
sorry for everyone who
Yeah.
never gets to say goodbye.
Yeah. That's so hard. That's so hard that people don't get that opportunity. Yeah.
But you are here and you do have a purpose. And right now you're bringing other people closer to finding their light, their purpose, their reasoning for being here. And it's hard to be brave, because when you get brave, you still get knocked down. You still have all these fears in the back of your mind. And I was saying in my last episode when I was talking about losing my sister, I've always seen grief as the moment you lost something. And that includes life before HD or life before your own Huntington's diagnosis. So when you said that you were diagnosed in May of 2016, I got this little like butterfly in my stomach because I got diagnosed in May of 2017. So we're exactly a year apart.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that kind of crazy?
That is such a coincidence.
So we've basically been grieving our
Yeah.
diagnosis for about the same time now, but It's hard. It is so hard to not ever have it in the forefront of your mind, because even if it's not there, even if you're distracting yourself, it's still in the subconscious, and the subconscious is so powerful. But that's
Yeah,
why I try to, like you said, wake up every day and go, okay, you know what? I could have X, Y, or Z, and I would love to not have HD and have my health
yeah,
back. But what can I do today? Or,
yeah,
what is God calling me to do in this moment? And I heard something really beautiful the other day, and it wasn't anything Huntington's related, but it just kind of put a lot of things into perspective for me. It was this girl, and she was talking about the fact that every single thing that you do is for a purpose, not a coincidence. And even if you don't realize it, even if it's in your darkest moment, or even if it's just a day where you feel like everything's okay, but nothing grand has happened, you just putting on an outfit and choosing to wear a shirt and going out to the store, that could be a sign for someone. She said, I one time I said, God, if I am meant to do this, show me a firefly. And she said, sure enough, I went to the store later that day and this lady was wearing a firefly pin on her shirt. Like, just
wow,
these moments where you might not
yeah,
ever know that you're impacting someone with something that you're doing, but while you're asking God, why me? Why this? He might be using you to show someone else something through what you're going through.
yeah,
And that's given me that gave me goosebumps when I when I heard that.
yeah. It's funny too because today someone sent me some cardinal videos. Like that's the thing for me. It's like I see cardinals all the time. And to me that means, that my dad's watching over me. And so everyone sends me cardinals. I'll post cardinals a lot on sorry.
No, it's okay.
Um but these people take the time to do this, and ironically a bunch of people did it today and didn't even know I was going to be here with you. So I thought that was just so perfect.
Oh my gosh, now I'm getting goosebumps again. Yeah, that is not a coincidence. That's beautiful. Stories like that make me so happy because I hear them more than I you think would happen. And actually with the Cardinal, I compete in the Miss America organization. So I've done
Mhm.
pageants for like 10 years. And we had a longtime director who was the Miss Michigan director. So whoever won every year would spend their year with her. And when I started, she was, in her late 60s, early 70s, but she had breast cancer and it had come back a couple different times. And she recovered. And then that last time we ended up losing her. And so it was really hard for the organization because she'd been with Miss Michigan for like 20 or 30 years. And ironically, her symbol was a cardinal as well.
Oh,
And after she
wow.
passed, one of the now directors was talking about how they had seen a cardinal, and that was always her favorite bird. And so then, in honor of her, they started doing exactly what you said. We would bring in everything that had a cardinal on it, and they created a whole new pageant with the title Miss Cardinal Spirit. And so it's just like her memory now is doing things after she's left us. So, I mean, that's another thing is after we go, if we're here for a purpose, even if we don't know it, we could continue impacting people for years or
Yeah,
generations. I mean,
that's
that's somehow the
amazing
only thing that gives,
story.
yeah. It's so funny that you said that. See, no coincidences.
Yeah. Oh, I love that story. It makes me happy. Um, I I don't know. I definitely think, therapy too is a huge piece of my puzzle. And I've always been in therapy. Um that and because in the beginning I was like, why am why do I have depression and anxiety, which is a big piece of Huntington's disease. And now I know a lot of, what I'm going through is normal and normal for people with Huntington's disease. Um, so, you know, just to get that out there as well. Therapy is not a negative thing at all.
No, oh my goodness. And I'm so happy we're in a world where people are starting to understand that mental health is and always will be just as important as physical health. And I am a firm believer that they go hand in hand. If your mental health is not intact, your physical health can deteriorate because like you said, I know I've struggled with anxiety my whole life and whether or not that's linked to Huntington's, I don't know. But there have been times where I have made myself so anxious, and this started as early as middle school. And growing up, I was in not the greatest household because my dad, we didn't know, had Huntington's. And so his symptoms would come on in the form of, violence and anger and outbursts. And then my stepmother was recovering from alcoholism and other mental health struggles. And so when I was anxious and I was nervous about just all the stress that was going on, I would physically get sick because of my anxiety. And it got so bad that I knew it was anxiety sickness. It's so insane. It hasn't happened since high school, thank goodness. But it would be to the point where I would ask the teacher to go to the bathroom. I would know I was going to be sick, walk myself calmly as I could down the hall, go get sick, and then go back to class. I wouldn't call home because I literally knew that it was just a one time thing because I was anxious. But I had that much anxiety so early. And I was in therapy still at that point. But it took so many years to work myself to a point where I wasn't throwing up anymore because of my anxiety. But it's insane what your mental health can do to you physically if you don't learn how to manage those thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and also, get a good therapist that really understands the disease, but also is willing to give you feedback, not be critical, but be supportive. I have a great woman therapist who I love, and I'm sorry that you had to go through that at such a young age. But yeah, my girls are very supportive and stuff, and so and my oldest daughter has always been in therapy and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So
And I applaud you as a mother because I've said a couple episodes ago, and I was talking to my sister, our mom had us in therapy from the time her and my dad got divorced. And when they got divorced, she didn't know. I guess now it's coming up that they had heard of Huntington's might be in the family, but they didn't know what that was. And when they got married, you couldn't really test or anything like that. So they didn't think about it, but I think that attributed to them getting divorced in the long run. But we got into therapy really early on, and she was always supportive of it. So I think it's important, whether or not you have Huntington's or something traumatic in your life, just trying
yeah,
to navigate through life and the different phases you go through as a young person and then a tween, a teenager, a young adult. There's things that your mind needs help processing. And sometimes you don't feel comfortable enough doing it with someone in your immediate family. And sometimes it's just nice to have someone who doesn't have a connection so they can be um, a, just give you good, like you said, good reflection and maybe constructive criticism, but they're supportive because not everyone has the family support that they would love. So I think that that's incredible that you've had them in therapy and that you're supportive of that because I bet you it helps them more than you could ever know.
yeah. Thank you. um, yeah, I appreciate that. And the hardest part right now for me is the my word recall. So sometimes it's funny. I used to be like I used to I used to say, long story short, and it used to and now it's like, now it's really a long story short. So I apologize if I'm going off on a tangent.
No, you don't have to apologize.
But, I just wanna make sure though, before we end, that everyone knows, you know, how much, your donation really meant to me and my family, and, I was able to pay medical bills with it, and I was able to buy this laptop because I was using my phone for, my medical
Mhm.
appointments,
Oh,
and so I'm sitting there with HD and, when you're shaking and stuff and
yeah,
trying to, um, like, position the phone from, because of COVID and everything, they're like, they,
right.
you know, are in where I live now, anyway, so I just wanna thank you so much
No,
from the
thank
bottom of my
you.
heart.
I You're the reason that I do this. I should say that we do it because I'm really blessed. I have an incredible board of people who are helping me run this organization. But I knew that I wanted to get diagnosed, and I didn't know why. It was just God calling me to do it. And initially, I think the biggest reason was because my sister Bree needed someone, and she had so many people, so many support systems, our family included. But she told me after I got diagnosed, even though I'm not symptomatic, she said, I feel like you get it because you have it. And so I was like,
Wow.
okay, God, if she's the reason I have to have it, that's fine. I'll do it over and over again if it makes her feel better. And then when someone approached me about starting a nonprofit, I didn't know why. I didn't really believe in myself. It's like, why would anyone take me seriously? Why would I do something like that? And he just really said, you can have an impact on people. You get to choose how the money's allocated and what that looks like. And I said, you know what? Yeah, I think that that'd be incredible because something like this is so dark and so lonely. It affects so many people who do feel alone. And there's other incredible HD nonprofits, but I think every nonprofit brings something different to the table. And
Absolutely.
when my family was diagnosed, my dad actually, when you were talking about disability, I got choked up because my dad waited 2.5 years before he got approved. And at that point, I was out of his house. I was going to college. But I mean, to hear your dad say that he can't pay for this and he's in credit card debt and he's drained his 401k and the government won't, they keep denying him because they don't see him being sick enough because his was all cognitive at that point. I said, no one should have to suffer through that. So we started Champions and we started doing donations. And every time I hear a story like yours and someone tells me that it made a difference, I just feel like I'm closer to what God is calling me to do. And I don't have a lot of money. I'm very blessed, but I'm not one of those people who can just write checks to people. But with the support of all the people in the community and people who are listening with their donations, we're able to do what we do. And so I literally,
Research,
my heart feels so full when you tell me that
aw,
it really impacted you because that's what I
yeah,
want to do.
yeah, and I want people to know too, like, the T-shirts and, donating, it's not just it's a website, it's a community, um, it's a place to, you know, learn about HD and be able to connect with others. It's so much more than just,
Yes.
that. So, I really wanna make sure people know that, you know
Yeah, Heather, I think you're our number one t-shirts teacher buyer. Every time I get an order, I'm like, oh my goodness, Heather is you're gonna have to take pictures and send. I post them and people take pictures in them. So
Okay.
send us a picture in your swag, and
Okay.
we will put it up. I'm excited for you because I purchased one of everything when we first launched it, and I wear
Yeah.
them like every day to the gym or when I
They're
go out.
so comfortable.
Are-
Really. So, so comfortable.
Which one? Which one do you have that's comfy?
I have the Champions for HD hoodie, which I
Yes.
love,
The hoodie and the oh, what's the other? The crew neck. The crew neck's my
and
favorite.
the crew neck, yep. And then I just got the HD Can't Tame Me, obviously.
Yes.
Um and the one my daughter loves is the which I can't wear, but the young girls can wear is the um your special one that you wear, the tank top one. HD Can't Tame Me, Champions for HD.
Oh, the tank top one. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me so happy. I'm so glad that you like them. And
Yeah.
I am so thankful that you were open and brave enough to come on here because it is a lot to come on to a public platform and just bare your soul and tell everyone the highs and the lows. And you are going through this disease, but you are also showing people that you can fight back and you can be a champion for it in everything that you do. And just by being here and speaking with me. So thank you for trusting me with your story.
Thank you, Shelby. I love you and I
I
appreciate
love you
everything
too.
so much. And thank you for giving me this opportunity.